Do you remember the Chinese balloon?
Yeah.
The controversy. What do you think
Yep.
about that? I would love to hear your perspective. Was it a spy balloon?
I honestly, I don't know whose it was, but I can tell you from like what I know about technology, if there was any technology in there recording anything, it wasn't just on hard drives. I'm sure it got passed off, like a live feed or streamed. So it wasn't even, if they caught it and recovered it. If somebody put something like that up there to do what they said it was doing, like it wasn't just stuck on hard drives floating in the sky,
It's
so
so
whatever.
crazy.
Yeah, whatever it captured, somebody got that information
How do
immediately.
you think they got away with it? Because, imagine your company or our government would go like to China or Russia and fly the balloon over. Like,
I'd honestly, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. That thing never should have entered US airspace. Like there's no way. I mean, it's just one of those things that as soon as it was identified, is it a potential something that we don't know what it is? Get rid of it. It never should have made it all the way across the country.
are you a believer in, they don't call them UFOs now, they call them I identify like flying objects.
Oh
Are
yeah.
you a big believer in that?
I can't say I'm a believer, but I mean anything's possible. Especially now the farther we get in society and technology, anything's possible.
But can it be another government doing like aerial imagery on on our land?
Like I said, anything's possible. I mean, I hate to say that it could be being done, but it's very possible. I don't know. I mean, we don't know where things come from. I mean, they could be from anywhere.
Defies
And
physics, right? Like,
yeah, and I mean, in a balloon, like how would you even get it to track that way?
yeah.
Like for it to plan a balloon to float across the country, meteorologists looking at jet streams and when's the right time of year and whatever. And if we fly it at this high, I don't know. Is it possible? Sure. Was it intentional? I don't know. Maybe.
What is something people would be surprised to learn about Geospan's history?
So the founder of our company, Ted Lachinsky, is truly a brilliant guy. He's really fun to talk to. He's always interested in sharing stories, but he always has ideas. And there's something that I would say the majority of the country, but at this point, maybe a huge chunk of the world. Like, have you ever used Google Street View?
Of course.
Ted patented that in like 1992 or 1993, and Google acquired it from him in the mid 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that goes way back.
Yep. So, and Ted's a vet. He was in the Marine Corps and he was a photogrammetrist.
So he's celebrating right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. He is. And actually he wasn't in the office today or yesterday. But he used to sit in planes when he was 18 and he's in his mid 70s now. And he flew around and looked through a window in the bottom of the plane and drew maps.
Really?
So he's been a photogrammetrist forever.
So he was just passionate
Mhm.
about it.
He's always been really interested in the technology and the mapping and um, what can be done that's ahead of the curve, like what hasn't somebody thought of. So he's truly been a pioneer in what we now have as our everyday. We don't even think about it. I mean, like everybody has used Google Maps. So when I bring that up, people's eyes get big and they're like, really? And you can look, there's a US patent. You can Google it,
And Geospan founder is the one who's
Yep,
behind.
but I mean, it's a geospan patent.
Wow.
So we've been around for a long time, but just like I said, behind the scenes. So that's probably my favorite one because everybody can relate to it.
Love it. Can you explain the Geo van?
Yeah, it was it was like the first, like what people have seen for Google Street View. It was one of the first vehicles ever driving around,
Mm.
capturing imagery, but it wasn't just taking pictures. Basically every picture that we used even back then to current has a geolocation. So when we make our 3D models, it's not just a model that's floating in the ether. We know where every pixel in our imagery belongs in real space. So we could take one of our images or our models and drop it into a map and it will sit right. It will be at the proper elevation, the proper angle. So if we drop it on a map, it'll be sitting how it sits as if you were driving in real life. So the GeoVan was one of the things that was the very beginning of that. And I think they had some sort of like a guidance system. I can't remember exactly what it was, but out of decommissioned missiles. So its accuracy is crazy. So like we know where every pixel is latitude, longitude, and elevation for all the imagery that we capture, and that started in geovans, and at the same time in planes too.
Have you seen those funny sketches when people are planting the image? Like, so if they know the vehicle is coming and they're like, and they're trying to do something funny, it's one of the funniest trends on the internet.
I've looked I've been looking at aerial imagery for a long time because I was in the rough measurement space a long time ago, but now back into it with Geospan. Um, when Street View really became popular, I would see a van, driving around or a little car, and then I would go and look and see if like a place that I'd been, how current the imagery was. And I've seen several friends doing something funny, waving or whatever, or blurred out, and then take a screenshot of it and send it to him. Be like, "Oh, you're famous now because you're on Google." But yeah, I've seen tons of that because I've spent, almost a decade looking at imagery for one reason or another.
Well, Geospan has been involved in patent disputes against pictometry and Eagle View. What can you tell us about Geospan's side of the story?
Um,
We made a video obviously about
yep,
Eagle View suing everyone, and I know you guys the only one who won. But
yep,
I'm just curious, how come it did not put you out of business? How did you guys survive that? Because there was Eagle View is a big player.
yep. They're the biggest.
Yeah.
Truly, when they acquired pictometry or bought pictometry, however you want to say it, um, that really did put them at the forefront of aerial measurements. And funny about the video that you made before, the first company that was listed in there that was sued was called Roofwalk. I was part of that company too. So I'm on the top and bottom of that list now. Um, so the biggest thing that I can say, because I was also a contractor in the middle of working for the two measurement companies, um, I've used Eagle View reports. I've used before um, Hover was called Hover, it was called GAF E360. I've used all the products on the market or a huge chunk of them. And the biggest difference between Geospan and really everybody else and EagleView is we have a different process. And our process is, I mean, the court system said, our process is different and it's been identified and we're not infringing on anybody's patents. So we have our own path and a lot of that comes from Ted. It all comes from Ted. He thought of stuff and has been doing stuff for longer than anybody else on the market, to my knowledge, because he's been
How,
in the space since the
how can you
90s.
sue someone who's been doing it before you? Isn't it just trying to capture the market and
Uh, yeah, partially, yeah. You're protecting your business interest, if somebody is infringing. And a lot of it too has to do with who can afford it. And depending upon your bank account, it's possible that you could just use your money to influence it too. Like I can spend more time in court than you can because I can afford it.
uh,
Can you handle it?
that's one thing I hate about this country. I love capitalism, but like people always say, like before I didn't understand, it's like Dmitry, lawyers run this country, and when you see what happened to Trump and how many millions they spend like chasing him, and like other politicians too,
Oh,
it's insane. Like lawyers are the only ones who always win.
because they get paid.
Yeah, they
Yep.
always get paid.
Yep. Yeah.
So whether you lose,
Yeah, well, and you think about how much money it is, and at the end of the day, like for the amount of money spent, was it really worth it? Because I could think a whole lot better things to do with my money than sue people,
of course,
But it's a huge industry. There's a lot of people that do really well, and like the problem for some people suing somebody like Trump is he can afford to battle it,
yeah.
And there's a lot of people that get bullied out of, any industries or in lots of things just purely based on money. So yeah, it's a huge chunk of money to spend with, I guess there's different thought process on the benefit of it.
That's one thing I have in common with Geospan. I overcame that. Like someone came after me trying to put me out of business, slapping me like, you know what? If you're not wrong, you're not wrong. You can survive.